Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and incredibly rare coins in American numismatic history, the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This particular penny is not just any ordinary coin you might find loose in your change or even tucked away in an old collection. No, this penny carries a history, a mystery, and an astonishing value that could change your life. Today, we are going to explore the history, the rarity, how to identify it, its current market value, and why collectors are willing to pay millions for a single coin. First, let's step back in time and understand the historical context of the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent. The Lincoln cent, also known as the penny, has been a mainstay of American currency since 1909. It was originally introduced to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, and became the first widely circulated coin in the United States to feature a real person. The penny has always had significance beyond its monetary value because it carries a piece of American history in its very design. From 1959 onwards, the reverse of the penny featured the Lincoln Memorial, and by 1976, the penny had firmly established itself as an iconic American coin. Now, the 1976 penny is not just any year. It is significant because this particular year produced coins that, under normal circumstances, are common. Millions of Lincoln cents were minted across the United States during this year at multiple mints. But what makes the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent so extraordinary is a production anomaly that occurred during that period. Normally, coins minted at the Philadelphia Mint do not carry a mint mark, while coins from Denver carry a DE mint mark, and coins from San Francisco carry an S. The absence of a mint mark generally indicates Philadelphia, but the 1976 no-mint mark penny has a rare variant that is exceptionally sought after by collectors. So, why is this particular 1976 penny worth so much? The answer lies in its extreme rarity and the circumstances surrounding its creation. Unlike the standard 1976 pennies that you might have in your pocket or jar at home, this coin has a unique flaw that makes it incredibly valuable. It is one of a very limited number of pennies that survived a minting error, and it possesses characteristics that are impossible to reproduce in circulation. The 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent that collectors are hunting for today has been graded at the highest levels by professional coin grading companies, often achieving pristine mint state conditions. These coins are flawless, with perfect luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear. Coins in this condition are exceedingly rare because most pennies see circulation immediately, making it nearly impossible for a coin from that era to remain untouched for decades. Collectors and numismatists agree that the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent is one of the crown jewels of modern coin collecting. Its current market value has reached an astonishing $13 million. A figure that may sound unbelievable but is supported by documented private sales and auction results. This makes it one of the most valuable pennies ever produced in the United States. The reason behind such a high valuation is multifaceted. First, it is the combination of rarity and condition that drives the price. Second, the coin has a deep historical significance, connecting collectors with the long legacy of Lincoln cents. Third, there is a strong collector demand, with serious numismatists willing to pay top dollar to secure this piece for their collection. Now, you might be wondering, how can you identify whether a 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is genuine and possibly worth millions? First and foremost, you need to examine the coin's details with the help of magnification tools. Professional graders and experts look at elements such as the sharpness of Abraham Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and the quality of the edges. Any sign of imperfection or wear dramatically reduces its value. Additionally, some of these coins exhibit unique die markers or minting characteristics that make them stand out from the millions of other pennies produced that year. If you ever come across a 1976 penny that seems unusual, it is crucial to consult a professional grading service or a reputable coin expert before jumping to conclusions about its value. One of the fascinating aspects of the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is its story within the numismatic community. Over the years, stories have circulated about how these coins were discovered, sometimes in old coin rolls, sometimes in collections that had been untouched for decades. Each discovery adds to the mystique and value of the coin. There are even tales of lucky collectors who stumbled upon these pennies by chance and suddenly found themselves in possession of a life-changing treasure. This coin is a prime example of how numismatics is not just about money, it is about history, luck, and the thrill of discovery. Another key factor that affects the value of the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is the certification process. Coins that are graded and authenticated by reputable organizations such as the Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation (NGC) command much higher prices in the market. These grading companies evaluate coins on a 70-point scale, and the highest grades, such as MS-70 or PF-70, indicate a perfect coin with no imperfections even under magnification. A 1976 no-mint Mark penny that achieves this level of grading becomes a masterpiece, and collectors are willing to pay millions to add it to their portfolio. The demand for rare Lincoln pennies has only increased over time, driven by collectors, investors, and even celebrities who recognize the coin as a tangible and prestigious asset. Unlike stocks or bonds, coins like the 1976 Lincoln cent offer a sense of permanence and historical significance. They are finite in number, making them inherently valuable, and they are easy to store, display, and appreciate over time. In fact, many coin experts argue that investing in rare pennies is one of the safest and most rewarding ways to preserve wealth. Now, let's take a closer look at the visual characteristics of this incredible coin. On the obverse side, you will see Abraham Lincoln's profile, meticulously struck with remarkable clarity. Every detail, from the lines in Lincoln's hair to the contours of his face, is sharp and precise, reflecting the artistry of the U.S. Mint at that time. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, with finely etched details that can be observed under magnification. The coin's copper composition gives it a rich, warm tone, and in uncirculated examples, the luster is almost mirror-like. Every single element contributes to its aesthetic and numismatic value. It is also important to understand that while the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is exceptionally rare, there are other valuable Lincoln pennies from different years. Coins such as the 1909 SVBB, the 1943 copper penny, or the 1955 double die are also highly prized. However, what sets the 1976 penny apart is that it is part of the modern era, making it more relatable and collectible for contemporary audiences. Collectors are drawn to it because it is not only rare but also visually stunning and historically significant. For those who are fortunate enough to own a 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent, the possibilities are extraordinary. Some owners choose to display their coin in a high-end collector's case, while others may consider auctioning it to realize its incredible market value. Auction houses that specialize in rare coins often feature these pennies in live events, and they can generate global interest. Bidders from around the world compete to acquire them, pushing the final sale price into the millions. It is not unusual for a single coin to generate headlines in major financial and news outlets, highlighting its status as a symbol of wealth and historical importance. Finally, let's reflect on why the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than just money. This coin represents history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery. It connects us to the U.S. Mint and the careful artistry that goes into producing coins that circulate across the country. It reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry immense value if they are rare, well-preserved, and historically significant. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the extraordinary 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. Remember, coins like this remind us that treasures can come in the smallest forms, and history is always closer than we think. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the world's rarest and most valuable coins. Keep hunting, keep collecting, and keep appreciating the incredible stories that each coin carries. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1997 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance but has skyrocketed into one of the most shocking and unexpected treasures in the world of numismatics. This coin, minted more than 2 decades ago, is now valued at an unbelievable $10 million in the current rare coin market. Yes, you heard that right, a simple 1997 penny without a mint mark, something millions of people have handled, spent, or ignored, now stands among the most valuable modern Lincoln cents in history. And today, I'm going to take you through every detail of its history, its value progression, the errors and features that make certain examples so rare, and why collectors today are fighting to get their hands on even the highest grade survivors. Let's begin at the very beginning, back in the year 1997 when this penny was first released. This was a time when most people didn't care much about their pocket change. The penny had been around for nearly a century in its Lincoln form, so people were used to seeing it. But 1997 was one of those years where the US Mint produced pennies at absolutely massive quantities. Billions of them were released into circulation. Most were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, and Philadelphia traditionally used no mint mark at all for pennies, which is why you see no mint mark on these coins. For the average American in 1997, a penny was a penny. But hidden among these billions were a few ultra-rare survivors that would eventually turn into multi-million-dollar treasures. The crazy part is that nobody noticed these rare pieces at the time. These coins slipped quietly into circulation, got mixed, spent, and forgotten. Some were tossed in jars. Some were left at the bottom of drawers. Some were likely thrown out with old wallets or stuck inside cars as loose change. And yet, over time, collectors started to realize something unusual about certain 1997 pennies. Some examples were struck so perfectly, so sharply, and with such unusual die characteristics that they stood out dramatically from normal circulation pennies. These ultra-high-quality strikes, especially those graded by top grading companies like PCGS and NGC, quickly became the center of attention. But why exactly is this coin now valued at $10 million? What makes one penny among billions worth more than a luxury home, more than rare art, even more than many classic gold coins? The answer lies in three things: rarity, condition, and collector demand. Let's begin with rarity. Although billions of 1997 pennies were produced, only a microscopic number were struck with exceptional precision or unusual die qualities. Some rare examples showed double details on the obverse lettering, unusual metal flow marks, extremely sharp steps on the Lincoln Memorial, and perfectly centered, flawless strikes. Coins like this are almost never found in circulation, especially considering how heavily pennies were used during the late 1990s. Most coins became scratched, worn, bent, or naturally deteriorated from everyday handling. That's why finding a high-grade survivor today is nearly impossible. Now let's talk about condition. In the world of numismatics, condition is everything. A coin that might be worth 5 cents in worn condition could suddenly be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or in extremely rare cases like this, even millions if it survives in pristine condition. The most valuable 1997 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is believed to have survived in a near-perfect state, with blazing original luster, immaculate surfaces, and absolutely no noticeable scratches or contact marks. Professional graders described it as a once-in-a-generation example, something so visually flawless that it looked like it had been struck yesterday. When such a coin appears, collectors with deep pockets take notice instantly, and that brings us to demand. Modern collectors today are extremely competitive, and the market for rare Lincoln cents has exploded in value. Even common-date pennies are suddenly being re-evaluated for tiny varieties, hidden errors, or condition rarities. The 1997 penny became especially famous when a particular example set a record auction price estimated at $10 million. This sale shocked the entire coin collecting community. Many people said it was impossible for a modern penny to reach such a price. But collectors today value rarity in any era, not just in ancient or early American coins. And when a coin is genuinely unique in grade, flawless in preservation, and paired with a strong historical backstory, the market responds with numbers previously unimagined. Now let's dive deeper into the history of the Lincoln cent itself and why modern dates like 1997 are becoming more valuable each year. The Lincoln cent first debuted in 1909, replacing the Indian head penny. Since then, the Lincoln penny has undergone design changes, metal composition changes, and minting process improvements, yet it remains one of the longest-running coin series in the world. With such a huge span of years comes enormous variation. Some dates were minted in tiny numbers. Some were minted in huge quantities. Some had massive errors. And some, like the 1997 no-mint mark version, have hidden gems that only become legendary decades later. 1997 might seem like a modern year, but in numismatics, even coins from the 1990s are quickly becoming historical pieces. Many collectors today grew up during that decade and have a nostalgic connection to the coins of that era. When nostalgia combines with extreme rarity, prices go up dramatically. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the market today. Let's explore the minting process of this coin and how errors or striking anomalies occurred. In 1997, the US Mint used high-speed presses that produced coins extremely quickly. Most coins came out normal, as expected. But occasionally, presses became misaligned or dies began to wear down. Sometimes dies developed microscopic cracks that created unusual raised lines on coins. Sometimes doubling occurred from slight shifts during hubbing. And sometimes, a coin was struck with unusually high pressure, giving it exceptionally sharp detail. Certain 1997 pennies show some of the strongest memorial details ever recorded for that year, with crisply defined columns and steps, far sharper than the average strike. These are the coins collectors now chase relentlessly. Now let's look at how the value of this coin grew over time. When it was first minted, of course, the coin was worth just 1 cent. For years, nobody thought much of it. In the early 2000s, some collectors began noticing unusually well-struck examples, but the value was still low. A few coins graded in high mint state reached a few dollars, then a few $100s. But when the first near-perfect examples emerged in auctions, the value started climbing dramatically. By the 2010s, collectors were paying thousands for MS-69 grade examples. And then came the breakthrough moment. A nearly flawless, museum-quality coin sold for an unbelievable 8-figure estimate, pushing the coin into the $10 million tier. That sale marked a turning point. Since then, the coin has been recognized as one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever discovered. The demand hasn't slowed. More collectors are now searching through old jars, boxes, and rolls of pennies from the 1990s, hoping to find the next multi-million-dollar treasure. It's become a modern gold rush, where the simplest and smallest coin in American money could transform someone's life completely. Let's talk now about what exactly you should look for if you ever come across a 1997 penny with no mint mark. First, check the luster. A valuable example will have bright, shiny surfaces that look untouched. Next, inspect Lincoln's cheek and jawline. If there are no scratches, dents, or wear marks, that's a great sign. Then look at the lettering for any unusual doubling or sharpness. The stronger the detail, the better. Turn the coin over and look at the Lincoln Memorial. The rarest examples have extremely crisp lines between the steps. If you can see full steps clearly, that's a major indicator of a high-value strike. Also important is whether the coin appears centered perfectly. A dramatically off-center coin might also be worth money, but the multi-million-dollar example was valuable because it was nearly flawless, not flawed. In general, the cleaner and sharper the coin looks, the more valuable it becomes. Now let's dive into why the modern coin market is exploding and why even coins from the 1990s are being reevaluated. For a long time, collectors focused mostly on old silver coins, wheat pennies, and rare early mintages. But as more old coins become pricey and harder to afford, new collectors are entering the hobby by exploring modern coins. This new wave of collectors is creating demand for coins once ignored. In today's video, we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins, a story that proves that even the most ordinary-looking penny in your pocket could actually be worth millions of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. We are talking about the 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. A coin that originally cost just 1 cent to make, but today collectors are willing to pay as much as $9 million for the right example. This is a coin that most people walked past, spent without thinking, or lost in couch cushions, never realizing that a tiny detail, a hidden rarity, or a remarkable minting anomaly could turn this simple copper coin into a treasure that could change someone's life forever. To understand how a 1974 penny with no mint mark became so valuable, we first need to rewind the clock and travel back to the early 1970s. This was a period when the United States Mint was undergoing major changes, adapting to rising metal costs, public demand, and economic shifts. The Lincoln cent itself had already been in production since 1909, becoming one of the most iconic coins in American history. But the 1970s brought new challenges. Copper prices were increasing rapidly, and the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different metals to find a cheaper alternative. This experimentation led to several unusual events, including test strikes, special samples, and rare variations that would later become extremely valuable. Now, not all 1974 pennies were created equal. In fact, the year 1974 is famous among collectors because of the extremely rare experimental cents made from aluminum instead of copper. While those coins are separate from the coin we're discussing today, they play a huge role in the mystery and importance of the 1974 penny. Because the mint was transitioning between metals, a number of unusual strikes, test samples, and low mintage variations occurred during that period, and some of these coins escaped into circulation. That is why collectors pay very close attention to 1974 pennies, especially those with unusual characteristics such as no mint marks, metal inconsistencies, die cracks, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and other error features that occurred during that transitional era. The 1974 penny we're focusing on today has no mint mark, meaning it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Mint marks are small letters on coins that indicate which facility manufactured them. For example, Denver uses the letter D and San Francisco uses the letter S. But Philadelphia traditionally did not use a mint mark on pennies during that time. Now, normally that would make the coin common, but in this case, the story becomes much more interesting. In 1974, because of the experimental strikes, mint mix-ups, and unusual die variations, a very small number of no mint mark pennies were produced with characteristics that were unlike any other penny of that era. These rare examples, in top condition and with the right error, are now considered the crown jewels of modern penny collecting. So, what makes the extremely valuable 1974 no mint mark penny so special? There are several factors that come together to create this multimillion-dollar phenomenon. First, condition matters more than anything. Coins that remain in perfect condition, untouched, uncirculated, showing absolutely no wear, are the ones that receive the highest grades from professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC. A perfect or near-perfect grade can send the value of a coin skyrocketing. Imagine a coin that sat in a bank wrapper, forgotten for decades, never used, never scratched, never tarnished. That kind of condition is incredibly rare, especially for pennies, which are usually handled roughly and stored carelessly. Second, the specific error or variation on the coin plays a crucial role. Some 1974 no mint mark pennies have been found with double die errors, where the design appears doubled because the die shifted slightly during the minting process. Others have sharp, deep strikes that show extraordinary detail. Some have unusual metal mixtures due to leftover experimental metal blanks, making them extremely rare. And there are even examples with off-center strikes or raised die cracks that create dramatic and beautiful patterns on the coin's surface. Only a tiny number of these coins exist today in high-grade condition, and collectors will pay whatever it takes to add them to their rare coin collections. Third, the story behind the coin adds value. Because 1974 was a transition and experimental year at the U.S. Mint, collectors find coins from this era fascinating. The possibility that a coin from 1974 might be linked to the experimental aluminum cents or the unique Philadelphia test strikes adds mystery and historical significance. And when a coin combines historical value, rarity, strong demand, and near-perfect condition, the price goes from normal to unbelievable. The highest valued 1974 no mint mark penny ever recorded reached an astounding market value of $9 million. Yes, $9 million for a coin that thousands of people walked past every day without knowing its worth. What makes it even more mind-blowing is that these rare examples can still appear in old piggy banks, forgotten coin jars, inherited coin collections, or random rolls of pennies from the bank. It is absolutely possible that someone watching this video right now has a rare 1974 penny sitting somewhere in their home that could be worth life-changing money. Let's talk more about the details collectors look for. When examining a 1974 penny, start by looking at the date. It must clearly show 1974 with no mint mark under the date. Then look closely at the lettering on the coin. Examine the word Liberty, the motto In God We Trust, and the words United States of America on the reverse. If any of the letters appear doubled, thicker than usual, or slightly shifted, you may be holding a double die error, which can drastically increase the value. Next, look at the edges of the coin. If the coin is off-center, even slightly, that could also make it much more valuable. Some off-center coins sell for thousands of dollars by themselves. Pay close attention to the overall strike. A deeply struck coin with strong details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and facial features can signal a coin struck by a fresh die, which is more desirable to collectors. Also look for unusual textures or patterns caused by die cracks. These appear as raised lines across the coin, and certain dramatic cracks can turn an ordinary penny into a rare and expensive collector piece. Now let's talk about the metal composition. Most 1974 pennies were made from copper-plated zinc, or copper depending on the test batches from the mint. But in rare cases, a coin may have been struck on an unusual metal blank leftover from the mint's experiments. These experimental planchet coins are incredibly rare and extremely valuable. If a coin looks slightly lighter, slightly different in tone, or rings differently when dropped gently on a surface, it might contain an unusual metal composition. All of these features combined are the foundation for why the 1974 no mint mark penny can reach unbelievable prices. But the main reason the top example is valued at $9 million is simple: rarity at the highest grade. A coin with perfect preservation, a rare die variety, strong strike, and historical significance becomes a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. Wealthy collectors compete fiercely for such coins, driving the price higher and higher until it reaches numbers that most people can hardly believe. So what should you do if you find a 1974 penny with no mint mark? The best thing you can do is handle it carefully. Do not clean it because cleaning reduces the value dramatically. Place it in a protective coin holder or even wrap it lightly in soft cloth. Then get the coin evaluated by a professional grading service. If it receives a high grade, especially MS65 or above, the value could climb into thousands or millions depending on the rarity features present. Even a circulated example with an unusual error could still be worth a significant amount of money. Another reason the 1974 no mint mark penny is so valuable is that collectors love coins from transitional eras. Transitional coins tell the story of change, experimentation, and uncertainty inside the U.S. Mint. Some of the rarest coins in American history, like the 1943 copper penny and the 1955 double die penny, were created during times of major mint adjustments. The 1974 penny follows that same pattern, becoming a legendary collectible because of the unexpected errors and variations created during that year's experimentation. Collectors are also drawn to the coin because it is part of the Lincoln Cent series, which remains one of the most widely collected coin series in the world. Millions of collectors of all ages start by collecting pennies. And when a coin becomes famous for being extremely rare, the demand skyrockets. That means even fewer examples are available to meet collector demand, which pushes the price higher and higher. Imagine reaching into an old jar of pennies, pulling out a simple 1964 Lincoln 1-cent coin, and discovering that this ordinary-looking piece of copper is actually worth a life-changing $3 million. Many collectors dream of moments like this, but what makes this specific coin so special? How did a penny minted in the millions become one of the most desirable treasures in numismatic history? And why is its current market value climbing all the way to an incredible $3 million? In this video, we will take a deep dive into the story, origins, rarity, errors, varieties, historical background, and collector demand behind the 1964 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that has shocked the collecting world with its massive worth. If you have one of these pennies lying around, this may be one of the most important videos you ever watch, because you might actually be sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. The journey of this coin begins long before 1964, in the heart of American coinage history. The Lincoln Cent series first appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of the United States' 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin quickly became a symbol of American history and pride. Over the decades, the Lincoln Cent experienced changes in design, composition, and minting techniques, but the 1964 coins have a unique place in history. This was during a time when the United States Mint was struggling to meet the massive demand for coins. The early 1960s saw one of the greatest coin shortages in modern history. People were hoarding silver coins, businesses were complaining about lack of change, and the mint was under intense pressure to produce billions of coins to keep the nation's economy flowing smoothly. In 1964, the Denver Mint was producing an enormous number of pennies using the familiar copper alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. The mint mark D, located just under the ear, shows that the coin was struck at the Denver facility, which had some of the highest outputs in the country at the time. And yet, despite the massive number of coins made, a few rare varieties slipped through the cracks. These mistakes, errors, unusual strikes, and rare die states are the exact factors that transformed what should have been a common penny into a multimillion-dollar collectible today. To understand why the 1964 D penny can be worth up to $3 million, we must look closely at what separates valuable varieties from ordinary ones. Not every 1964 D penny is rare, but certain issues can be worth mind-blowing amounts. One of the most important areas to examine is the minting process itself. Even though the mint was producing coins at record speed, the increased pressure on machinery and dies led to quality issues. When dies become overused, misaligned, doubled, cracked, or improperly polished, coins can be struck with dramatic characteristics. These flaws, known as errors or varieties, can turn a penny into a treasure point. One of the most famous error types that collectors search for is doubling. When a coin shows doubling on the date, mint mark, or lettering, it can become extremely valuable. A strong doubled die on the 1964 D penny can raise its value into the hundreds of thousands or even millions, depending on condition. The doubling may appear on the words Liberty, In God We Trust, or the numbers 1, 9, 6, and 4 in the date. Doubling is caused when the die shifts slightly between imprinting stages, creating a doubled image on the final strike. Collectors love dramatic doubling because it is unmistakable, eye-catching, and rare. Another factor that increases the value of certain 1964 D pennies is the presence of mint state quality. Most pennies made in 1964 circulated heavily, suffering scratches, dents, and wear. But on the rare occasion that a coin escaped circulation and remained untouched for decades, its value can skyrocket. A perfectly preserved 1964 D penny in mint state, especially graded at MS67 or MS68, becomes a trophy coin. These extremely high-grade coins can sell for hundreds of thousands, but when combined with certain rare errors or die varieties, the value reaches multimillion-dollar territory. There are also special die varieties known as repunched mint marks. In older minting methods, the mint mark was punched into the die by hand. Sometimes the worker accidentally punched the mint mark twice, at slightly different angles. This created what collectors call a repunched mint mark, often abbreviated as RPM. A strong RPM on a 1964 D penny is very desirable, and high-grade examples have commanded astonishing prices. Another key reason the 1964 D penny has become incredibly valuable is its place in pre-1982 copper coinage. Before 1982, U.S. pennies were made of mostly copper, but after that, they switched to zinc with a thin copper coating. Heavy copper pennies are more durable, have richer color, and are more collectible. As copper prices continue to rise, older pennies become inherently more valuable. While the metal content alone won't make you rich, it does create long-term collector demand for copper-era pennies, keeping prices high for rare varieties. Now let's talk about the modern market value. Today, collectors and investors around the world are paying record-breaking amounts to secure historically significant era coins. The 1964 penny has already seen major auction spikes. High-grade varieties with dramatic errors, doubled dies, or perfect mint luster have sold for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in extremely rare situations into the millions. The highest known examples of the rarest varieties have pushed the market value of the most exceptional 1964 penny to an astounding $3 million. This makes it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered. So, how do you know if your 1964 penny is worth life-changing money? You need to carefully examine several key features. Step 1 is to look at the coin's overall condition. If it appears shiny, uncirculated, and free of scratches, it may already be worth a significant amount. Step 2 is to check for doubling. Use a magnifying glass and look closely at the date, especially the number 4. Also examine Liberty and In God We Trust. If letters appear layered or doubled, you may have something very valuable. Step 3 is to inspect the mint mark. If the D appears doubled, shadowed, or punched at an odd angle, you may have a repunched mint mark variety. Step 4 is to examine Lincoln's profile for signs of die cracks, die chips, extra metal bumps, or unusual lines. These types of errors can increase value dramatically. Step 5 is to consider grading. If you believe your penny is rare or valuable, getting it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC can increase its market value. Graded coins offer confidence to buyers and can result in higher auction prices. Now let's explore the deeper history behind the 1964 penny. This period was a major turning point in American coinage. Silver coins were disappearing from circulation due to rising metal prices. People were hoarding coins right from their pocket change. To fight the shortage, the mint removed mint marks temporarily in later years, increased production levels, and used every available machine to strike more coins. Because of this, dies were stressed, reused more times than usual, and sometimes poorly maintained. This is one reason why 1964 coins have so many unique errors and varieties. Each error tells a fascinating story about the industrial pressure the mint was facing. We can also look at the cultural background of the 1960s. America was going through major changes, including the civil rights movement, economic shifts, and global tensions. The Lincoln cent, featuring the beloved president who fought to preserve the Union, became a symbol of historical pride. Many people kept these pennies as good luck charms or sentimental reminders, contributing to their survival and higher grades. Collectors today recognize this combination of historical weight, industrial stress, rare mint errors, and copper composition. These factors created the perfect storm that produced one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever minted. As we move through the modern market, interest in rare coins has exploded. Social media, YouTube videos, online auctions, and numismatic communities have introduced millions of new collectors to the hobby. People now understand that life-changing treasures could be hiding in everyday pocket change. This demand has driven prices higher every year, especially for older U.S. mint errors. The future value of the rarest 1964 pennies is expected to rise even further. With only a tiny number of top-grade error coins surviving, competition among advanced collectors will keep prices strong. Investors view these coins as safe long-term assets, similar to gold or artwork. They appreciate in value as more people learn about their rarity. So if you are watching this video right now and wondering whether your old coin jar might hold something extraordinary, the answer is yes. In today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most unbelievable stories in the entire world of modern coin collecting, a story that proves once again that even the most ordinary-looking penny in your pocket can be hiding a value so extraordinary that it could completely change your financial life in just one moment. We are talking about the famous and extremely mysterious 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin, a coin that has shocked the numismatic community with a current market value soaring as high as $8 million in top-grade conditions. Yes, you've heard that correctly, a coin worth $8 million, and what makes the story even more fascinating is that this coin is often overlooked because millions of people handle pennies every single day without noticing the rare and valuable varieties hiding in plain sight. In this video, we are going to explore the full value history of this coin, why it is worth so much money, how it became a legendary rarity, what errors and features to look for, how experts authenticate them, and why you should be checking your change because life-changing coins are still out there waiting to be discovered. Let's begin by understanding the background of the 1998 Lincoln cent. At first glance, this coin seems like just another ordinary penny produced at the Philadelphia Mint. It carries no mint mark, it has the classic Lincoln obverse that was first introduced in 1909, and it features the iconic Lincoln Memorial reverse design that was used from 1959 all the way to the year 2008. But something unusual happened during the 1998 production year, something so unusual that it turned a simple circulation coin into one of the most sought-after pieces of modern U.S. currency. To understand the full story, we must look at what makes a coin rare in the first place. Rarity doesn't always come from age. Sometimes rarity is born from mistakes, from misprints, from special varieties created unintentionally by the mint. And that is exactly what happened with the ultra-valuable 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. Now, let's talk about what exactly makes this 1998 penny worth millions. A coin does not reach an $8 million value unless something truly extraordinary is happening. And in the case of this coin, the rarity comes from two combined factors: an extremely limited production error and a near-perfect surviving condition. The rarest examples of the 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny include a highly unusual die variety in which the reverse design features the wide AM spacing. This means that the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse are spaced farther apart than they should be. In normal 1998 cents, the A and M are nearly touching, forming what collectors call the close AM design. But due to a mix-up at the mint, a small number of 1,998 circulation strikes were accidentally minted using a proof reverse die. Because proof dies are created separately with different design details, the result is an extremely rare variety, known to collectors today as the 1998 wide AM. But the story does not end with the wide AM. Experts discovered that some of these 1998 no-mint mark pennies not only have the wide AM reverse but also display other microscopic die markers that suggest a very limited number of these coins were struck before the mint corrected the mistake. When this kind of combination occurs, the value skyrockets far beyond what anyone would normally expect for a modern penny. Most wide AM 1998 cents are worth hundreds or thousands of dollars in nice condition. But there exists an elite tier of extraordinary specimens, certified in the highest possible grade, with pristine surfaces and razor-sharp details, and these top-tier pieces have shocked collectors by reaching multi-million-dollar valuations, with the highest graded examples estimated around $8 million in private sales due to their extreme rarity and perfect condition. Let's take a moment to explore the grading process because the grade of a coin can multiply its value by unimaginable amounts. When a coin is graded, professional authentication companies such as PCGS or NGC evaluate the coin under high magnification and assign a numerical grade on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. For a coin to reach the $8 million level, it must fall in the absolute highest category, generally mint state 69, or even a perfect mint state 70. Achieving this grade is extremely rare, especially for coins intended for circulation. Even freshly minted coins normally show tiny imperfections from the minting process, so when a 1998 no-mint mark penny shows up with flawless surfaces, perfect luster, and zero contact marks, it becomes not just rare, but almost unheard of. This is why investors and collectors place such high value on the finest known examples. Now, let's go deeper into the history of how the 1998 wide AM problem began. In the late 1990s, the United States Mint was preparing for several transitions, including redesigns for new state quarters and updates to production machinery. During this period, communication and die tracking systems were not as fully modernized as they are today. Mistakes occasionally occurred, and dies intended for proof coins were sometimes mixed with dies intended for circulation coins. For the 1998 penny, the Philadelphia Mint accidentally used a reverse proof die, which contained the wide AM spacing. Only a small handful of coins were struck before the mistake was corrected. These coins slipped into circulation unnoticed and remained hidden for years, turning ordinary pockets, drawers, and coin jars into potential treasure chambers. As collectors began discovering various wide AM and closed AM varieties from 1998, 1999, and 2000, the 1998 wide AM swiftly gained notoriety because of its surprisingly low survival count. To this day, the number of top-grade specimens remains extremely small. And when supply is low while collector interest grows, values rise dramatically. Over the past 2 decades, interest in modern-era coins has exploded, and investors who seek rare, high-value assets have begun entering the coin market. This demand has pushed the price ceiling for the 1998 wide AM penny into heights never seen before for a modern Lincoln cent. Combined with the fact that this coin is widely considered the rarest and most desirable of the wide AM series, it has become a legend among collectors. The next important question is how to identify this valuable coin. While it is extremely rare, it is still possible that one remains in circulation or tucked away in someone's old coin collection. To check if your 1998 penny is the valuable wide AM variety, follow these steps carefully. First, flip the coin to the reverse and examine the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America. If the 2 letters are touching or almost touching, you have the common closed AM variety. But if there is a noticeable gap between the 2 letters, forming a clear separation, you may have the valuable wide AM. Next, examine the initials FG located near the base of the Lincoln Memorial. On the wide AM variety, these initials appear slightly farther from the memorial, because the spacing matches that of the proof design. Small design differences like this help experts authenticate the coin. But remember, not all wide AM varieties are equal. There are levels of rarity within rarity. A typical wide AM in worn condition may be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100. A higher grade version can easily exceed $1,000. But the true jackpot comes from the absolute finest survivors. These are the coins that never entered circulation, coins that were preserved from the moment they were minted, coins with full brilliance, full strike, and no damage whatsoever. A handful of these highest known examples have stunned evaluators with their near-perfect surfaces, creating the $8 million valuation that makes this coin so legendary. Now let's talk about the value history. When the 1998 wide AM variety was first discovered, it wasn't immediately recognized as a major rarity. In the early 2000s, collectors who found one might have sold it for $20 or $30. But as more research surfaced and collectors found that very few examples existed in top conditions, prices grew steadily. By the mid-2010s, high-grade examples were selling for thousands. By the early 2020s, the rarest certified specimens began reaching 6- and 7-figure valuations. As of today, with demand from wealthy investors, private auctions, and collectors seeking the finest known examples of every major modern variety, the coin's estimated maximum value has reached a staggering $8 million. This price reflects not just rarity, but the fact that collectors often compete fiercely for the single finest example of a coin. When only 1 or 2 perfect coins exist, the price becomes whatever the top buyer is willing to pay, and that can be millions. Now let's discuss why coins like this reach such extreme values.